All right, welcome. Welcome to Dynamic Disruptors. How are you doing, Caroline?
I'm very good. Happy to have you again and talk about this really
Yeah.
interesting topic. So, very exciting.
Yeah, I am really excited too. So for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to Dynamic Disruptors. These are just really powerful, casual conversations that are intended to inspire elite conscious CEOs, visionaries, innovators, disruptors to explore the nuance and power of self-mastery, energetics, consciousness through the lens of business, personal expansion, legacy achievements. And today we are going to discuss the energy of disruption, because we named this Dynamic Disruptors for a reason, right? So yeah, what is the power of disruption? Some think disruption is negative, so I want to get into just having a conversation around what your thoughts are, Caroline, on really the true meaning of disruption and how it actually can be quite positive when we're looking at what we're doing in our daily lives, how we're creating our businesses, how we're even just moving through the world.
Well, that's a big question, and you make me start. uh,
There you go.
Cheeky of you. So, yeah, I believe that. I think we get too comfortable in our routines. I don't know if it's our society or the way we conduct our lives, but routines are very present. You wake up in the morning, you do the things you have to do, and then you reflect into business. So in this type of patterns, you tend to miss out on new opportunities, I guess, and you feel more comfortable. And as you feel more comfortable, I believe you fail to adapt to change, and then you have this kind of blindness on things. So you keep on going, doing the same thing, and you don't understand why it's not changing when you hit the wall. And this blindness help prevents you from seeing the door just next door and find new opportunities. So
Yeah,
that's
I
my
love
thinking
that.
of that.
Yeah.
This blindness thing. We always having something in front of our eyes and say, why is it not changing?
Yeah, I love that. That takes it to when we do things just in this in this kind of blindness, or just like a very habitual kind of patterns, and then we hit a ceiling, right? We desire to expand, we desire to expand our income or have projects move faster or whatever that is, and in life and in business, and we end up hitting this ceiling, and it almost feels like, wait a second, why is this happening? Because we're just basically sitting in the realm of comfort. And I think disruption, and this is why we've named this Dynamic Disruptors. I often identify as a disruptor. Our people identify as disruptors because we know that we're meant to shift a paradigm, to not necessarily follow that pattern blindly, right? There's an element of deep consciousness, deep awareness that we want to have to bring to business, to bring to our life, to have that crossover actually of there is no, I always talk about, there is no business energy and life energy, and they're relationship energy, right? Energy is energy. So if you're having an experience, right, if you're hitting a ceiling in one area, then it's like kind of like whack-a-mole, like it's just going to pop up in another area. So when we're talking about disruption, I think sometimes the experience can be maybe a little terrifying at first, because it's requiring us to shift out of the realm of comfort, right?
Yeah, and I think that's very interesting what you're saying, and I will go just beyond that. What you're saying is we hit this ceiling, but as we hit this ceiling, we resist the change.
Yeah.
We create unconscious barriers So there's not only the ceiling that exists because it's the environment, it's the ceiling of ourselves. Is we stay unchallenged. We want to play safe. We know what we know, and we don't want to go beyond. Sometimes it's a little scary. So resisting this change can really block ourselves, thinking that this is the others or the environment or the colleague or the etc. that blocks us. But we have to sometimes shift the view of things and take the mirror and say, probably it's me that's blocking things. And then
Yeah.
when you have this epiphany, you can become more agile. You open to seize more growth opportunities. You become more flexible. You have some responsiveness to something that seems to be negative at first, but you take it with a fresh set of eyes and you reflect on it and say, oh, that might be a way to break that ceiling that I had before, or this resistance to change that we had in the company, and then move forward with this. I think that's also this, because it's hidden, I would say.
I love it. I love it how you brought into, because really this is sovereignty, right? Not blaming it necessarily on it's this, it's you know, the colleague, it's the team, it's you know, it's like all of those memes. Yeah, the problem is me, right? But we're not really a problem. It's just taking the responsibility, right, of what our experience is, and shifting into full sovereignty so that you are actually in command of your outcomes. And so a lot of the work that I do is extremely disruptive, because we're disrupting a habit, we're disrupting an energetic force, a distortion. We're cleaning out something that we think is us, or we think is real. And the power of disruption, even bringing it to when we remove ourselves from our environment, right? So we talk a lot about just the power of going on retreat, going to travel to another location, right? This is the reason why we do retreats, right? Taking yourself out, doing the healing work, doing the energy work, which is disrupting internal patterns, and then actually physically removing the body, putting it in another environment to then create space so that you're not sitting in the same chairs, the same habits, the same things that you're physically seeing all day long, that are just these unconscious little triggers for you as well to just continue that habit. So I love the internal. I'm always like talking about the micro, macro, internal, external. When we address all of these things holistically, it is so incredibly powerful.
I totally agree with you. I think removing yourself from your patterns, whether it's the sit, the desk, whatever it is, it's fantastic. And I believe that but the retreats you have in villas, those we propose to our clients, for example, can be an excellent strategy to facilitate this disruption. It's not only removing yourself, but it's providing a very conducive environment for fresh ideas, creativity, new thinking. You totally disrupt your own brain in some ways, and this disruption of your own body or your own environment is very conducive to disrupting your thinking. And then you brainstorm more sessions, and you closer to people. And to be honest with you, on a positive note, it's a great environment when you go on a business retreat and you want to have new ideas, and at the same time you have the view of the countryside, or the ocean, or the great swimming pool, or it means it's like it doesn't look like business, but all this environment which keeps you relaxed, and keeps you less stressed actually encourage these new patterns and this new thinking. So that's subtle
Yeah.
things with villas and retreats. It really
Yeah.
helps on every front.
I love that, because when we talk about like anchoring the energy or anchoring something new, right? There has to be a disruption. There has to be a disruption in, if we're talking about the mind, like creating new neural pathways. If we're talking about energetically, we're talking about habits, right? It is like cutting it off. And this is really where that rapid transformation happens. It's why when a lot of people come into my space, it is sometimes very jarring, but very quick and in the most powerful and wonderful way, because you no longer can exist in this one way. And so when you're putting that within an external environment, well, let alone that's just beautiful, there's going to be a wellspring of creativity there. And if you happen to be doing this with other people, right, um, you're also seeing those individuals in another environment, which allows you to think differently completely, right? You're seeing things through a different lens. You are possibly noticing very different things about that individual because they are also walking around in their habits in this one single environment, right? So there you are, both like it's very disruptive, could be a little uncomfortable, but also the end result is incredibly liberating, whether you're, busting your own habits or just how you're looking at another individual before you. I think it's even more humanizing. There's a deeper connection that can happen when you're in a space, when you're looking through that new lens. So just wrapping up the conversation of like, disruption is good. Disruption is incredibly powerful. Disruption is required. Actually, disruption is required to create the new. And it's those who are willing to take that bold step to do that, to allow that, to essentially shred and let go of some old patterning, that this is so beneficial and is actually the thing that creates rapid transformation, right?
I like the fact that you talk about the human connection. Remember that when you have retreats, they're 1 week. So most of the time, they're Saturdays to Saturdays. And you're in an environment with others. So there's no, remember, you wake up and you go to breakfast with everybody else, and no makeup, no suit and tie,
Yeah.
just your slippers, and you go to the breakfast before you go to the work session. So it's really pushing your boundaries. It's really
Yeah.
breaking that ceiling of presenting myself at work as a manager, a CEO, an entrepreneur, someone who has so and so goals and expectations for my teams, and suddenly I'm I'm with my t-shirt and
Yeah, it allows for a vulnerability that you would not normally have. And then also, if we do the flip side too, because thinking about what happens when you decide to go on a retreat alone, right? And what comes up in disrupting that pattern of like, okay, now you're in this beautiful environment. Now you have all the spaciousness in the world for reflection, for sitting with your own thoughts. And I think a lot of people who are high performing often have this challenge of what happens when everything else is silent around us. We remove ourselves from all like the busyness and the busy work, and we actually sit with ourselves for a few days a week, right? What happens there then? That is also a disruption of constantly being busy and chattering and in our mind, and maybe not addressing the things or even feeling things fully. And then you're put in this place where you have the opportunity to do that. You have endless time for reflection. So also another powerful disruption, right?
yeah, and I totally agree, because it's great to put those points in the conversation, because I had actually 2 requests this week for individual retreats for people who want to kind of
Beautiful.
refresh their view on things and reflect on themselves. So the retreats just shrink into 1 or 2 people or a family thing, so that
Yeah.
the business and the family mix together. It was new to me, but I think it starts to really to be the new trend of having a disruptor at the head of a company and say, well, I need some fresh eyes on things. I need to pose and stop there so that everything can be kind of reset in some ways. And to be honest with you, I'm going to go beyond that and say that when you go on these retreats on your own, that you try to improve yourself in challenging yourself, trying to stop resisting the change and all these things we've been talking about, you come back a different person. And then your employees see you in a different light. So you increase your employee engagement, they feel more motivated by you, you can carry your values differently, and then they are more accepted instead of resisted. So the advantages of that are not only for the person who do it, but for the environment in your company and the people who work for you and the expectations you put on people.
Yeah, 1,000%. I love that so much, because when you do that, this is why we do the inner work, right? Things become easier. You actually become more magnetic to the things that you desire. You actually become a source of, yeah, whether it's inspiration or even just as a leader, right? You are now not moving from a space of reactivity or being clouded by your own stuff, that you're able to lead better. You're able to, it's not just about, leadership, right? This is a whole other topic, but it's not about telling people what to do. This is, you are embodying the leader. You are embodying the example of what a leader is, and naturally people are going to be really drawn to that and very interested in, yeah, working collaboratively in a very, very different way. So I love that when, yes, you absolutely do not arrive home the same.
Yeah, I think it's a
Yeah.
good way to conclude this and say that you the transformation creates new growth opportunities for yourself, for the business, for the people around you. You have to pass on all these visions you have in your head or in your for your company, and sometimes it's quite difficult. You need to stay ahead of your competition, so breaking the ceilings and transforming yourself, I think, creates a long-term sustainability. That would be my intake on that. The long term, the way that keeps on rolling way after the retreat or the sessions or etc. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. Amazing. Caroline, this was so fun. Again, I know we could go on forever. To be continued. Find us here weekly. Look out for both of on our profiles when this happens. The replays are up, so if you go look in the events, they're there as well. And yes, we have some interesting things in the works with both of our work, where we will be sharing more on that soon. But if you are interested in energy work and personal transformation, alongside with being in a beautiful location and completely shifting your reality, definitely get in touch with either one of us, and we'll share about that. And yeah, I think until next time, we will see you again. This was fantastic.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lauren. And we're happy to welcome your questions and your comments and your views on our topics. We're having fun here, but we want you
Yeah.
to have fun as well and interact with us. You're part of our live, so it's great to have you with us. And please feel free to interact with us. It gives us ideas and breaking our own ceilings for the next sessions.
Yep. All right, then. Thanks again. We'll see you soon. Bye.